Well, welcome everyone. We have Shaylon, the band from the San Francisco Bay Area, and bumped into their album from last year, The Initiation of a Timeless Voyager, and just loved it and wrote a nice review. Hopefully, everyone liked it. And these guys agreed to meet here tonight and talk about it. And why don't you guys do an introduction rather than me try to fumble through that?
I'll start. I'm Susie Jimenez. I'm the lead singer of Shaylon. So I've been in the group about 5 years, and I love it. We as you mentioned, Mark, you wrote an amazing article on our band. We truly appreciate it, and we're really happy to be here tonight to talk more about our music and band and future happenings. So thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm Charlie Urso. I am the founder and the main composer and the guitarist and keyboardist of Shaylon. I'm very honored to be part of this show. Thank you, Mark, for having us. And I'm looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, Kurt Becker, obviously drums here. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Hi, it's Alex, bass player. Thank you for having me and the band.
All right, who wants to take the first question? Is describe how the band began, how you emerged, and how you evolved, and tell us a little bit about where you're from and that kind of thing. Because each of you, I think, are from different places. So go ahead.
So I guess I start then. So I'm Charlie. I'm from Italy originally, and I moved to the United States in 2009, and initially in Las Vegas, where I lived there I lived there and worked there as a performer, as a guitarist for various bands and projects. Then in 2013, I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, and I started from scratch again, and I formed Shaylon. My goal was to blend the beautiful music from symphonic metal style of bands like Nightwish, Within Temptation, and so forth, with classical music, with opera, and experimenting also with some electronic music and things like that, or atmosphere like those presented by bands like Muse, for instance, or Queen. And yeah, in 2014, Shaylon was born. In 2015, we produced our first EP called Forgotten Realms of Wonders with a different lineup. Then following, few months, we had to go through searching for a new drummer. And after finding Kurt, our singer at the time, Tina, left the band because she wanted to pursue other avenues in her life, and that's where I found Susie, who was a friend of mine, and and then ever since she joined, we started to work on our album very very hardly, and finally, after so many crazy adventures, we were able to put the album out in 2022, last year, and here we are. We are very happy that we succeed with putting this album together, and that so many people all over the world are really enjoying it.
And the album was very well received, and we got to get these guys on the road and get them around the world so that more and more people know about them. Because if you give this album a chance and just listen to it, it's fantastic. And by the way, well, I guess we can jump into that, but they just got done finishing another video. They've got some fantastic videos already, but you want to just talk about that a little bit, or too early, or you guys tell me,
Yeah,
no, we had a great time filming our video last weekend. with Mike Sloat. He was the final editor and did the modern band footage of Mist. So we were so excited to be back with he and his team. And they had amazing plans and amazing lights and just amazing setup ready for us. And so that was quite an adventure, quite fun. And so that should be out in a few weeks. We don't have the exact release date, but Mike's working on that with his team to get it finished and out. And we kept it kind of as a secret of what song we were going to do next. We put out a kind of a poll on social media saying, hey, what song do you think we should next? And so we had some people saying, oh, In My Silent Sleep, some saying Forgotten Realms of Wonder, saying, Initiation of the Timeless Voyager. So we still have yet to announce what that song was that we, did this amazing video last weekend, but we're about to do that. So we're leading up to that. That in conjunction, we're performing in the Vakken USA battle on the 18th.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we have
yeah.
2 weeks where we're winding up to that big show.
And so that's Wacken. There's going to be a Wacken US show that matches the one they have in Europe.
Yeah, they end up having, I believe it's 28 countries participate. And so the US ends up sending one band and they compete against other countries. They have this wonderful opportunity. So we're in the Bay Area battle. And when the Bay Area battles, there's 4. That they have a Northern California, and then there's a West Coast, and then there's nationals. So we're very excited to have a seat at the table, I have to say, because again, American metal, you don't hear too much about symphonic metal. In American metal, it's usually more thrash or power or death. That seems to be the popular genres in America. But again, with symphonic metal, it's making its way. Within Temptation just opened for Iron Maiden on their North American tour. So, we're thrilled that more people are learning about symphonic metal and how popular it is in Europe. And we hope that the momentum will carry over in the US too.
And I think it was last year, Evanescence did a fantastic job. I think with Smashing Pumpkins, if I remember correctly. And Visions of Atlantis is doing a fantastic job over here right now. So you're right. It's hopefully catching on, and you guys are getting in there right at the right time. And we'll talk about the new album hopefully. But anyway, all right. Let's get back to the script here. I'm going to get off track. It's very easy. Tell us about some of your influences. Who are your favorite bands? And you just go around the horn here, and you guys tell me who your favorite bands are.
Kurt, you want to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, I started playing drums at 9, so I've been playing a little over 30 years. So my first major influence was Lars with Metallica. I still hear, yeah, I still hear a lot of stuff that I come up with is like like Lars influenced, good or bad. But he was a major influence on me very early on. And then the mid 90s rolled around and Dream Theater came about.
Yeah.
And Mike Portnoy was a major influence. I got his VHS, drum education. And that was a lot of fun. And then shortly thereafter, Meshuggah, which is a band that I'm wearing here, Thomas Hake, he came around and my mind just got blown in terms of that the Chaos Fair album is the first Meshuggah album that I got. And I still don't understand what he's doing. I still don't understand, the syncopation. It's still just crazy to listen to. It's still one of my favorite bands. So those are kind of like my 3 main things. I always try to keep track of newer bands and pay attention to what bands are doing now and the styles and everything. So I'm always trying to stay on the cutting edge of all that stuff. But those are definitely the three main influences. My three probably top bands, I would say.
How do you feel about Tool? I think he's right now the best
I
character.
love,
I
yeah, I
mean,
love,
he is unbelievable. At least
yeah,
on the last album.
yeah, he's great. In fact, I feel very I feel amazing about being able to see them on their Enema tour. I saw them on the Enema tour, and looking back on it, it's just like that was that was the prime album for me. I didn't like too much their albums after that.
Really?
Little too slow for me, yeah. But Enema
Hmm.
was something else.
To me,
Um,
he's like John Bonham reincarnate, with a
yeah,
little bit of Rush. I mean, but just the hammer. I mean, he pulls out the
yeah.
hammer. I mean, he
Yeah,
just
he's great. It's funny because I have a buddy that lives in LA, and he's a drum teacher, and his main thing is ergonomics and just proper technique and everything. So he actually helps those guys. Danny, he's friends with Danny Carey and a lot of famous drummers. So he helps those guys out a lot, and obviously non-famous people, but yes, it's a small world, I guess, you know. So, but yeah, no, that album is great. That Anima album is fantastic. So,
who'd like to go next?
Alex.
Uh, yes, when I grew up in Hungary, Europe, I started playing music because the Beatles, main influence, the Beatles, all of those four guys.
Oh yeah.
I love them, and so I started playing. And later, of course, early 90s came, late 80s came in the metal. The first album I purchased was Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and since then, no stop.
Yeah.
I love the metal music, rock, and my father listened like Deep Purple, Jimi Hendrix, of course, and lots of classical like Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, all of this, and similar music what Charlie was listening, like Jean-Michel Jarre. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
you know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
this all of this music, and later when I moved to the US, I got I love the more like modern country music. It's like more rock style country music. So I all kind of genre I like, and of course the symphonic metal part.
Like Black Crows or Leonard Skinner, which or that
Oh,
kind of thing, or
oh yeah, that's those guys too. Of course, awesome
yeah.
guys. But the modern like like say Keith Urban
Okay.
or Jason Aldean.
All right.
This is my main influences. And of course, all of the great musicians and progressive. The Dream Theater, of course, is like number one. Is if I can say like metal or rock.
Yeah.
Those musicians is just like out of this world. That's no question. That's my number one at this year's actually
But I
for
think
me.
Europeans, and correct me if I'm wrong, those of you that are like me, born in America, you probably get more influence from the classical. You probably
Yes.
brought up. I mean, I am from Cleveland, Ohio, and we went as elementary kids to the
Oh yeah.
symphonies and things like that, but not as much as you guys, I think.
Yeah, we had to learn at the elementary
Especially
school.
Hungary. Yeah.
8 years. 8 years we had music class every day almost for
That's
8
great.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, we need help over here because our music programs, yeah, they need to bring it back. We took music all through high school, elementary, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see that anymore, and it's a shame. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go. Well, my background is kind of the opposite of the three guys here, where I had only really classical musical theater growing up. So I was involved in choirs, performing, doing that. I didn't really know a lot about rock or heavy metal until way later. So I ended up going to college, and I have my degrees in music, in classical music, and in performance. So I'd perform in operas, recitals, concerts, toured, did that kind of work for several years. And then I think many classical singers like myself, you end up kind of teaching, in between gigs,
Yeah.
and then that kind of became more regular as well. And I was working also at a school, and I had a parent once say, "Oh, do you think my child should maybe sign up to do this movie audition, and you get emails about things in the Bay Area." And I said, "Well, let me check it out," and so I did. I put in my email. I said, "Yeah, it's fine." So then I started getting spams, and this website would also advertise music gigs, people looking for musicians all around the world, because I didn't specify, just to get emails for the Bay Area. So I would just always delete them. And after, I don't know, a year or so, I just randomly, I opened one day, and I was living in a town south of San Francisco called San Carlos, and the city right below that is Redwood City, right next door. And there was an advertisement that said, "Symphonic metal band looking for a singer." I was like, what even is that? I didn't know. But the word symphonic caught my eye, obviously, because since I've sung with orchestras and do classical music, mostly Italian and French opera, I was like, oh, I gotta check this out. So there was in a description where it talked about these bands that are European bands I'd never heard of. So I went on YouTube, typed them up, Nightwish, Nemo. That was the first thing I ever heard. I was like, where have I been? Where has this music been in my life? Why don't I not know this? Again, after having degrees and a master's in classical music as well, living in Boston, touring, going, doing all kinds of things, I had never heard of them. And then the next one, Epica. Why have I not heard of them? Xandria. Why have I not heard of them? Delane, Within Temptation. So there was a wonderful list, describing the songs and the style. And so I ended up contacting this band, and they just did covers, the greatest of all these European bands. So I had a fun time doing that. And that's how I met Charlie and Alex. At just the cover band I was in, we shared a gig in San Jose one time. And so that's how we just kind of kept in touch after. And yeah, that's how, again, I fell into this totally accidental. It was because of an email, really, and curiosity, But I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from California. I grew up here. My mom is a folk musician, so I did grow up hearing world music. She would play at different festivals and such. But yeah, it wasn't until later where I got into this wonderful metal. But it's reminiscent of singing with an orchestra. I have to say, because you have this energy sending out to the audience that you are just riding over with your voice. So having the drums, the orchestrated backing tracks, the guitar, the bass, it's just this heavy sound, and you just glide out. So it's thrilling. It really is. I love it.
And she
mentioned,
Charlie. Well, just real quick, she mentioned two bands that have reborn, that are reborn this year, Xandria and Delane, that are just ripping the charts up. They really, it's good that they found two great new singers, and they are back. So definitely. Go ahead, Charlie, and then
sure.
She made me think of a next question, but go ahead.
Okay, so I grew up listening to the music of Vangelis and Jean-Michel Jarre, of course, and many other artists. And I started playing the keyboard when I was very young, and then also the flute. I fell in love with rock music when I listened to New Jersey by Bon Jovi. When I heard Bad Medicine, that was, that was the thing for me. And I really love Richie Sambora as guitarist and singer and composer, of course, and writer. And I always wanted to become a musician ever since. Then, following few years of taking guitar lessons with various teachers, I started to self-taught myself, and it's when I heard also Yngwie Malmsteen, Richie Blackmore, and all these amazing guitarists that I really wanted to become a better guitarist, right? And moving forward, at the age of 24, I won a contest, an Italian festival, and I won a full scholarship in songwriting. So I went to a very prestigious school in Italy, and that's where I was able to work on this craftsmanship of writing songs and composing. And then, as far as guitarists, like I said, I like Richie Sambora, Richie Blackmore, Yngwie Malmsteen, of course. I would say those are my favorite. And Vangelis, Jean-Michel Jarre, as obviously pianist, keyboardist, and composers too. So yeah, and a lot of classical music as well.
Keith
Totally.
Emerson, Tony Banks.
Not really.
Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those are two of my favorite. But from but that's the distant past. It seems like. Since she really brought this up, and since a lot of you have a little background, or not a little, a lot of background with orchestras, possibly, and I'm jumping way ahead because I need to cover this album, but have you thought about integrating, like Xandria, Delane, some of these bands, orchestras in your music in the future?
Could you be more specific in what would you mean by integrating orchestration?
Well,
like a real orchestra?
Yeah, exactly. I think Xandria used a Hungarian orchestra. Delane, I can't remember where theirs came from, but yeah, and Vision of Atlantis used some European orchestras. Something, and hopefully here in the U.S. to sort of support them. But have you guys thought about that?
Well, certainly that would be a big dream. Of course, yeah. I always dreamt of playing with a real orchestra, so I'm sure that one day that will happen.
Not so much a huge orchestra, just something as a backing, because that costs a lot of money too. Yeah, I understand that.
That too. Yeah. So the reason why we are a quartet, so for musicians with backing tracks, it's exactly by that. It's because we want to provide the same quality that we have on our album when we perform live, and just having a keyboard, it wouldn't cover everything, and we want the full thing because it's part of our style too.
That makes sense.
So definitely having our backing tracks is a very strong part of our sound. And in the future, I will really love to have a real orchestra. So
there's another question coming. I think you'll like that question even more. But definitely good. Thank you for the interest in doing that. Will you guys tour the new album or the album from last year? Have you? Do you have some shows, festivals you wanted to talk about?
Guys?
I will have to say real quick, it's hard with our scheduling. I think we haven't put together a tour yet because the four of us, unfortunately, we're not under a huge label, and so we are self-promoting this and self-financing it. So we do all have, day jobs as well,
Sure.
to help with following this passion and this dream. So, but we've met great bands down in LA. We've been invited, let them know when we want to come down. We've, again, received nice invitations and let us know when you want to be in the area. We'd love to book you. So we just are at the point where we're going to start doing that. In the summer, we do fairs or festivals around in the Bay Area. Yeah, and again, we're just really looking forward to this Wacken performance at Toots in 2 weeks. So that'll be exciting because, again, just to be with other bands, other metal genre bands and other promoters there. So we're hoping to, grow from there.
I think
Definitely.
the other thing too is, just being strategic in terms of, shows that we play. Obviously if there's an opportunity to play a show with a large band that's drawing a lot of people, that's something that we'd obviously jump on. But if it's, playing a bar with 10 or 15 people in there randomly, it's I don't think it's in anyone's best interest. But we're really focused on trying to get in on those large shows, the summer shows and everything like that. So
Well, one thing, and I keep saying this to a lot of bands, but we have CProg up here in June, and I'm definitely going to try to mention you guys to them as a band. And don't know what all is going to happen. I think they're going to do a 3-day this year. They only did 1 day last year, but I'll definitely mention you guys. If you had to choose 2 or 3 songs, and unfortunately we're already getting that 10-minute limit here, but hopefully you guys want to keep going. And if you do, we'll do when this thing stops, we'll do a second one. But we haven't even gotten into the album, unfortunately, but it's been a fantastic conversation already. If you could choose 2 or 3 songs, or if you want to go more than that, what are some of your favorites and the ones that you want to talk about the most off of the last album, The Initiation of a Timeless Voyager?
Let's go first.
I'll go first. Actually,
Okay.
I Am is probably my favorite song to play. I'm not really sure what it is. I always feel probably the most energy in that song. I don't know. It's a really nice feeling song. And the other one is House in the Sky. That one's a pretty big song. I love how it starts. It really has like a Queen vibe and everything like that. And it takes you through like a journey, so that's a lot of fun to play as well. So those are my personal 2 favorites to play live.
I think The House in the Sky is the longest track, isn't it, if I remember correctly? And it is.
Yes.
We have
that it is.
We actually have a longer song than that, believe it or not.
You've made some longer songs? Yeah.
One, yeah, we have one.
Okay. Love to hear that. Go ahead. I try not to interrupt, but I do sometimes. Go ahead. Who wants to go next?
Alex, you want to go?
Yeah, my favorite too. Actually, it's I Am and House in the Sky. But I like What If also. And of course, the others. So this is the first 3, my favorites.
I'll go next. I really like singing Silent Sleep in my silent sleep. I just love the layers. I love the intensity. I love that it's fast. I love that it has these awesome high notes. I love the changes as well, tempo changes. I love it. I love singing every song we have. I really do. I'm always excited about what we're going to perform. But I have to say that one, and I Am as well. I love those. Those are probably, if I had to pick 2, if you're forcing me, Professor Mark, to pick 2,
no.
I'll pick those 2.
and I know how tough that is. I know how tough that is for musicians. They're like children, and no one wants to choose between these. Charlie?
Yeah. Obviously, it's a very tough question, and it's very difficult to pick just 2. Let's say that probably the my favorite is The House in the Sky. It's a very particular song. It was written in different stages, so I dreamt basically that song 10 years ago or something like that. I woke up with that chorus in my head. And so I wrote it down. And initially it was a pop song. I arranged it as a kind of a pop Beatle-ish song. And but I wasn't really satisfied. So I kept it in the drawer and I said, well, one day I will use it. And then when I put Shaylon together, I started to work on it again, and it turned out to become this way, especially because I listened to some very interesting artists from Mongolia, where they were proposing this very particular technique called the Mongolian singing. It's a particular technique that you work on with your throat, so it's very, very interesting. And so I thought about including something like that into this song, because this song it's some sort of a journey, and it has so many layers, so it's really particular, very, very special. So that would be the first one. And I would say the second song would be probably Astro Girl, because Astro Girl, it's another song that I dreamt, like, interestingly enough, it happens very often to me. And but the key factor of that song was that one day I watched an interview to an Italian astronaut, Samantha Cristoforetti, of the ESA, the European Space Agency, and I was really impressed, and I really loved her interview and the words that she chose to describe her career and how she became an astronaut. And the following night, I dreamt the melody of the chorus, and again I was like, "Wow, I have to write it down. I have to write it down." And so I ended up writing this song that in my heart is very, very, very special. I like the pathos and the richness of the melody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The opener is very good too. Revelations Time. Lots of orchestration, lots of the kind of, it really gets things started. When I first heard that, I was like, wow, this is going to be one heck of an album. Not that, I just liked it, but I mean, I like all of them, like you guys. It's impossible to pick one. Forgotten Realms of Wonder. I love that title. Who came up with that title? It's very cool.
Yeah, well, I did. I basically wrote all the songs, and except Mist, that it's from Susie. Yeah, Forgotten Realms of Wonders it's the first song that I actually wrote for Shaylon when I formed Shaylon. I had in mind, okay, I want to write a song that has a very strong Nightwish vibe, and then I came up with that melody, and I thought about, okay, I want to write about a kid, I mean, an adult who's growing up and wants to accomplish what he was dreaming when he was a child. And
good story.
And so that's what the song is about. Basically, never give up on your dreams. Always believe to the fullest, and go for it, because eventually it will come true. And so that's what the song is about.
Excellent. No, it's a wonderful song. We're almost out of time on this first one, and I don't want to ask you this second. Well, maybe I'll ask the question, but I'll give you time to think about it while this thing resets it. So, okay, here's the question. If you had all the money in the world and could